This idiot. Me.
I know. Isn't that great? Hey, I think we are live now, Fish. All right, we have another quick hit for you on Daly Fish. It's Wednesday, August 4th. It's 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m., I should say, Pacific. The commissioners of the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are talking now. Now, last night on Daly Fish, we touched on the SEC luring Oklahoma and Texas. Hey, everyone, John Daly here, along with Eric Snyder, a.k.a. Fish, live from Vegas and Myrtle Beach, coast to coast. Fish, so what do you make of this now? Pac-12 and Big 12, a complete realignment of college sports. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking it's going to happen. I mean, the SEC has not formally invited Texas and Oklahoma, but now it's going to happen. So now it's snowballing. So now you're seeing the Pac-12, like you said, the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are going to get together, and they're going to combine their conferences. You're right. What's going to happen to the other conferences? The ACC, the Mountain West, the All-American Conference. So I think it's going to, in the end, and again, it just doesn't happen to 2025, John.
Yeah. Well, it could happen sooner. I mean, there are some legal ramifications that could be making it happen, but touch on the other implication, because we got the Big Ten. You and I mentioned the ACC, and also another key factor is Notre Dame.
That's the big factor, is that they're the wild card in this whole scenario. Notre Dame has a intersectional rivalry with USC every year. I could see them easily jumping into that Big 12, Pac-12 merger, and that's adding another dynamite team, which adds USC, Oregon, Washington, powerhouses. And you got Oklahoma State and Notre Dame. So now you have that super conference. And you got the Texas, Floridas, everything in the SEC. ACC, with the Clemson's the one school that's always going to compete. So we have these super conferences. The ACC could stand on its own and still provide us with two college football playoff teams.
Well, that's true too. The problem I think with the ACC is that Clemson's a football superpower, but they're not necessarily a basketball superpower. So that could, whether that's going to say, I could see Clemson going to the SEC really easily. I could see that happening. I could see Notre Dame going to the Big Ten even, just because geographically it would make more sense. I think them against Michigan, them with Michigan State, they already play them. So I think that would, in Purdue, I think that would make sense to them. So we can do that. There was also big talk, and you kind of touched on this too, about the Big 12 merging with the American Conference. Now, my guess is nothing against the American Conference and people from the Carolinas, because East Carolina's in that. I don't think that's a strong conference. My guess is that Central Florida and South Florida would be the only two teams with the sports have to actually go to the Big 12. What do you think?
I absolutely agree with you on everything you said. And you just set something off in my brain about what would happen if the Big Ten and the ACC merged. Wow. Imagine Clemson in the same conference as Michigan State, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. I mean, you could have three big super conferences. What does that do? It really does nothing in the fact that you're just going to have great matchups every week, and it really helps the spectrum of college football down the road. I don't believe it's going to happen earlier. I think it's going to happen in 2025 because college football schedules are already written out 4 or 5 years in advance. So it's going to be a fun story to watch. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely.
Well, here's the other thing. Let me throw this at you. And we don't talk politics on the show, but look at the implications in certain states. Now, you mentioned this last night, that the Texas Longhorns would be back playing A&M if the SEC and the Big 12 combined. But think about this. What if lawmakers in Texas don't want to hurt Texas Tech? Could they stop it? There's a chance they could. I think we need to watch that.
Sure. And what about Baylor? Baylor's becoming a powerhouse in the Big 12. That's a huge rivalry with Tech. That's 35 miles up the road on I-35 Waco from Austin. So there's a lot of implications there. And then what does it do to the smaller conferences? For example, I'm in Las Vegas, so you got the Mountain West. Reno, Hawaii, Wyoming, UNLV. Reno's a good school. Hawaii's has had some really good seasons in the past. So you're going to create these super conferences, and are these other conferences left out? What's going to be the TV implications with them? They'll get a TV contract at all? Do they have to go and play one of these conferences to get a big payday? A lot of things you worked out here. But you know what? The bottom line is it's going to happen. And I think in the end game and at the end of the day, we're going to see some phenomenal matchups.
Yeah, and also look at the Big East. Big East just a basketball conference, and look how that's changed. Where UConn is now part of the Big East, they're going to have to really give up football, or they're going to do independent football. And what are the implications there? There is so much that's going to happen, not only over the next 2 or 3 months, but over the next 2 or 3 years. So, folks, also remember this: we go live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, for a full hour of the grind, schmuck of the week. Who's got the swag, something fishy, and a top-notch guest from the sports and entertainment world. This week coming up, we're going to talk college football with actor Stephen Root, a Florida Gator. And also, check out our most recent show. We had Hall of Famer Johnny Bench talking baseball history, baseball today, and also the Hope for the Warriors celebrity golf event that he and Doug Flynn orchestrated that's coming up in Wallace, North Carolina in mid-August, and I'm going to be attending. Fish, most people don't realize how funny and entertaining Johnny Bench is.
I didn't know he was so fluent in Yiddish. I mean, I probably speaks 7 languages. He knows every delicatessen in Cincinnati. Talk about a guy that's really ingrained in the community. You know, again, when you and I do a show, one of the comments we get, it's like three people in a bar talking. That was us with Johnny Bench. That was us with previous guests. What a real down to earth guy, and some of the stories he told. We're going to have him on again, and we'll get Doug Flynn on again, because I love to talk about the past as far as the sporting world that we grew up with, to try and maybe educate and tell people great stories about how it was in the 70s and 80s and how sports were before we got this, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Johnny Bench, to me, I look, this is going to sound like a cliche. I had a hard time sleeping. I was so excited that you were able to get him on the show last. I really was. I mean, you know, I'm still a kid at heart. So are you. And when you get a chance to get someone on there and talk like you're just shooting the breeze in a restaurant or a bar with someone like that, and you realize they're just like you are, and the guy was the greatest catcher in the history of baseball. That's it. No one's going to argue that.
Yeah.
So,
but at the same time, too, it's really interesting. He was really on the same page with us, thinking about the future, not only of baseball, but the future of sports. And also, you held up the phone. You know, what the implications are that with kids, with his kids, his grandkids, are they going to be following the games? They're going to be the same games that we're used to when we were growing up as kids. And there's some really big questions here, which is, you know, one of the things we try to do on the show here is kind of examine what's happening and what's going on.
Well, one thing that absolutely was absolute. I mean, I'm so impressed is the fact he's 73 years old and he has a 12-year-old. Yeah. He's performed in his 60s.
Hey, I wish you and I could say that.
He really has a bat. I'll tell you that. So
yeah, that's why he's in the Hall of Fame.
Hey, Ric Flair's got nothing on Johnny Bench.
All right, that is the Daly Fish quick hitter for today. Catch us Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific for the full Daly Fish. We air on DBNA television on Roku, Amazon Fire, and soon Apple TV. We stream 24/7 on the DBNA television website, which is at dbandatelevision.com. Follow us and like us on Facebook at daily.fish.5 and subscribe on YouTube to Daly Fish. Email us with any comments or questions to dailyfish1, the number 1, at gmail.com. Well, we got a lot more coming up, Fish.
Yeah, it's great. We're heading it. This is it. You're a sports fan. We're the dog days of August, as we said, and now you got a lot. Imagine September and October are the 2 best sports months because all 4 major sports are playing.
Absolutely.
And you said the Ryder Cup's coming, and you get the baseball playoffs. I mean, we're heading into our what we'd call our what is it called, the rating season in the Nielsen ratings, or what's it called when they call that in TV?
Well, it's the new season. It's the new season. It starts in September, television wise, but we don't care about the television ratings because we got ratings here.
Sure.
All right, buddy. I'll definitely see you Tuesday, probably before that.
Yeah, thanks.